Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your midday market report / The Odds Couple is back. A full afternoon slate of day baseball, weather permitting, of course. Evening slate as well, as we're into week 2, the first full week of MLB. It's good to talk baseball, not betting scandals, yada, yada, yada. But first and foremost, shout out to Best Buy and the Geek Squad. You know, just when you have the world conquered and you figured the Rubik's Cube out, presto magic, you can't get into your engine. What keeps this studio afloat? So thank God they're only 15 minutes away, and they took good care of me in Hyannis, so shout out to them. And of course, let's go over to our proud new sponsor and partnership, as everyone knows here, WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, head on over to Google Play. Wherever you download the apps, it's free. Head on in there, get comfortable with the app, download the sportsbook and casinos that are available in your state. Take advantage of some of the props, the match play, et cetera, promos that they are offering. And of course, if you're looking to make a little flash cash, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Travis, Zach, Matt, everyone on this team, community on X, the best in the business. And we couldn't be prouder what we're doing today, but what we will be doing in the near future throughout 2024 and beyond. So today we're talking baseball. No crying in baseball, though. 2-1 to the ECSI VIPs last night. Came back with the Tampa Bay Rays team total over 4.5. Thank God they got to 5. And that's all we needed there. And we had them first half minus a half run as well, and first 5, Eflin on a good bounce back spot there. So we're going to bring in the star of this show live from Tampa, his Tampa Bay Rays, the one and only Mr. Beam 'em up Scotty himself, Scotty Webb. Morning, sir.
Hey, man, it's rainy and cold and windy in the East Coast, and it's windy in Florida. Not raining yet, but it will be.
You know, I say this all the time. It's a broken record. I think I'm just going to tape it and replay it. I swear I live in Seattle. We don't just get rain. We get deluges, 1, 2, 3 inches at a time. They're actually talking up north in Massachusetts, 6 to 9 inches with the nor'easter coming tomorrow. It's crazy. And next week we'll be talking about the eclipse. So I always talk about the weather. I always talk about, I don't want to get involved in the weather games, the start and stops, because a lot of times we're focused on that starting pitcher. And if you play 2 innings and there's an hour delay, most likely that pitcher's not coming back, and it's a bullpen game. You know, I have the MLB TV. I was watching, I'm going to vent for a second. If you want to punish me when the Red Sox are playing at home, right where I am behind, you see the green monster, that's fine. But if the Red Sox are out west, they're playing in Seattle and Oakland, and you're going to black out the game again to me, Shame on you. I mean, Nesson is a joke. They want $80 a month to watch the Bruins and the Red Sox. And why would I pay $80 a month for one app when I'm paying $80 a month or 75 what it is for YouTube? So you can go pound stand. I'll turn it on the radio. I'll listen to whoever's broadcasting the game before I give you $80.
No, I hear you. I mean, this stuff is getting crazy that way, but I'm on YouTube now. I ditched my cable and I have the baseball package, and I'm excited for it. I kind of like it, to be honest. I think it's working out pretty good.
Shout out to George Jung. He says, take the top off the field. We're ready to play ball. Big, huge slate. Our goal was to start here at 11:30. We're giving everyone an opportunity for the 105, 110 games. Again, that's all on me, but we're here. I was like, I'm going to get this done. We will get the show on the road. So if you have any quick leans on the 110, 120s, you wanted to give some people some shout outs, and then we can do a little talking on what you've seen. I tell you what, I had my eyes on the White Sox yesterday and the Crochet kid. He looked pretty damn good, but neither team wanted to be there. These guys were bared up and the wind was howling. But early games, 110, 120s, KC and Baltimore. I know Scott Webb. I know how his Webby odds work. I know how his game score works, and Burns was lights out. So I know you would be saying to me, you're not going to get the same Burns. Raggins is a big-time young kid that a lot of expectations there, and just starting now, Texas and Tampa. But the stage is yours as always, Scott.
Well, it's interesting. Webby odds came out this morning, and it shows a little bit of value on Baltimore, even though it's a high-priced number. My number came out to Baltimore minus 191 today, and that's because Zip's projection system doesn't like Raggins as well as Streamer does, so it kind of discounts him a little bit. But when you're starting to get up in that kind of price point, I don't really want to play the game anyway, unless it's just a huge mismatch of one way or another. And this is a weather game issue there. So the way I saw it this morning, it says it's a lot of rain. Morning, early afternoon. I think they'll do what Philadelphia did. They try to move the game back to make, but it looks like it's an unlikely game to play on time. And if I see right, I don't think it is on time. I think it's delayed right now. So I think that's going to be a tough game to get in. So I'm not interested in that game. I will say that I'm interested in those two teams. I think at some point throughout the season, and maybe even especially early, you'll get some value on the Royals, because I don't think people realize what they've done in the offseason. That this is a team that has Raggins. Singer is back to being healthy, so they got two good pitchers in-house. And then they brought in guys like Waka, and they brought in Lugo. So where they had problems last year, which is, a lot of starting pitching, getting behind early and stuff, I think they're going to hold up. And I think we might be able to get some value on that team, especially when they're hitting. So that's a team to watch for. I don't like it today. I just don't like the weather conditions. I don't want to get involved. So that one's kind of a pass. When it comes to some of these other games, let me get my stuff up here where I can see the early stuff. The Texas Tampa Bay game, I think is priced right. I think Tampa is a small favorite, is about right. Savali had a really good start the last time out. I don't necessarily believe in Savali, but he's just a veteran guy that's just finds ways to get things done. He had a great game score. I think it was a 60 the last time. And he's facing Evaldi, who, Evaldi, and Evaldi's just one of those guys that, he goes out there and just gives you everything he's got every time he has it. So I don't like the idea that Josh Jung got hurt for Texas. They called up a rookie, the prospect kid who's going to play. I'm not sure how good he is. He's not Josh Jung, though. So Josh Jung was off to a good start, too. So he was a big catalyst for what Texas has been able to do. So I think that weakens their offense. So I think that Evaldi, I think this is just priced right. I mean, it's a small favorite for Tampa Bay, meaning that theoretically they're the favorite because they're at home. They're even teams. I think that offensively Texas has a lot of might, but I think the most underrated player in baseball plays for Tampa Bay, and that's Yandy Diaz. I mean, Yandy Diaz is a superstar, and I don't think people really recognize him as that. He's a 30-plus home run guy. He can be a 100-plus RBI guy, and that's leadoff. So I like the idea that they're a little bit under the radar right now, and I think that's a team that we're going to be able to bet on because the odds aren't right on them yet. So that's another one. I think people are going to be wanting to bet Rangers because of their offense, but I think the Rays are a team that if you stay with them, you'll find some successful spots. Not necessarily when they start, going with the opener type stuff that they did, and they got to figure out how to get to the fourth and the fifth guys. But I think that when you have some of their regular rotation pitchers, they'll be okay. The Minnesota-Milwaukee game, I passed on this game, but Webby Odds says, hey, you should be on Minnesota today. And I like Minnesota today, but I don't like their offense at all. Currently, they're not clicking. They haven't scored many runs. And that's a team that I think of all teams misses Royce Lewis dramatically. When that kid's in that lineup for that team, they're a different offense, and he's going to be out for I think 6 weeks to 2 months. So it's a problem, and they're going to have to figure out how to overcome that. But in today's matchup, I have them as a small favorite today, and depending on what you're getting lines at and numbers at, they're either minus 105 or they're plus 100 or whatever against Milwaukee. And Milwaukee's played a lot better than I thought they would, especially with the kids on offense. And that Jackson Churio is going to be really good. They got him batting ninth now, but he won't stay down there forever. He'll be up in the lineup at some point, batting more 1-2 in that neighborhood. Christian Yelich off to a good start. Reese Hoskins, good addition to that team. Their bullpens pitch pretty well, and they're going to be in use today. Joe Ross is the starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. And if you don't remember who Joe Ross is, that's okay. It's been a long time. 2021 is the last time he's made a Major League Baseball start. And that was for the Washington Nationals. And he was a young kid at the time who was going to throw and threw hard. And, he was going to be a good kid. He's a small guy like Stroman is, a little tiny guy. But at the same time, I think that you're going to run into a problem here in that he's not going to be able to go deep in this game. You're going to need Milwaukee bullpen to come in, and you got Chris Paddock on the other side. And I think Chris Paddock, the former top prospect that the Padres had, I think is one of these guys that he's found a way. He's doing well. The guy that wears cowboy boots and cowboy hats. I think he's going to pitch pretty well today. So I like the idea that Minnesota is a good value. I just don't think they're hitting well enough for me to support them on a bet. So I passed on that one. LA and Miami are playing today. This is Puck and Sandoval. Sandoval is, he's a wily veteran who didn't do well the first time out. But interestingly, looking at Stuff Plus and Pitcher Plus, that's at grades on how his actual performance of the ball was and how it moved in his location. He actually scored pretty well. His stuff graded out a 101, which is just barely above average, but that's pretty good for a guy that's a soft tosser. But his location was a 95, and when you have a 95, which is well below average being 100, you're going to get hit. So you take that into effect of the Miami Marlins, and the Marlins aren't hitting at all. So this is a team that can't score runs, has trouble hitting, and they throw in A.J. Puck on the mound. And A.J. Puck has good stuff, but he can't locate either. And his stuff didn't grade out at all very well the last time. He didn't even make it 2 innings, I don't think. And looking at the score right now, it's already 2-0 LA. So this is where you got to really look at, hey, my numbers came out that I had Miami minus 100 and LA plus 100. I had a perfectly even matched game. and the odds are, Miami minus 115. So there was a minimal value on Miami today, or on the Angels today. I didn't play it, but it was a good spot for them. And Atlanta and the White Sox, that's a minus 300. Strider's on the mound. It's snowing in that stadium today. Nobody wants to play. I don't think nobody wants to hit Strider today. So I just think you leave. What are you going to do? So early games, Jeff. Kind of how I saw them. I didn't really have too much opinion there, other than I think Minnesota was where somebody could have made a play, and I think certainly the Angels are a spot where maybe you might have wanted to take a spot there too, but you're going to have to swallow it when you're betting on Sandoval.
And I don't think it's said enough. The public, the DGens, social media, whoever you're following, you just wake up in the morning, you spin. What do they say? Spin, rinse, repeat. The fact of the matter is, it's a 162 game marathon, and we're creatures of habit. So what do? You get up in the morning, you go check into who you're following, and then you see a big afternoon slate, and then Strider's on the mound, as you said, and there's some 1:00 action. People got to scratch the itch. But again, as you said, rain in Baltimore, snow in Chicago, Mets postponed again, and for Frank and the diehards in New York, this couldn't be better. You're undefeated this week. A team that's struggling, no need to go out in this misery. So take it as a breath of fresh air and say, hey guys, let's pump the brakes here. You can't win a season in the first 10 days, never mind first 6 or 7 days. But you can lose a season and lose the clubhouse real quick if you get off to these bad starts. And the funk in the metropolitan area, where the Yankees until last night were rolling, and they take one in the chin. Good spot for them to bounce back, which we'll get to today. Rondon versus Kelly there. But the fact of the matter is, look at the Astros. You go back to the playoffs last year where they got swept. You take them the last month to 6 weeks, where you used to go into Houston and never won. If you got in a 3-game series, you hope to get one, and they're just giving away not just games, but series. And a game that they had one out away, and Hader gives up the homer last night, and you're scratching your head like the Mets are doing right now. What's going on in Houston?
Well, here's something for you that might be of a little bit of interest, if I can pull it up real quick, which I can. So I found a really good way, and I'm not going to take credit for it because that would be just the wrong thing to do. But it's a really good way to describe base run standings. So if you don't know what base runs are, I think they're significantly important. So you have a team like the Astros, and the Astros are 1-5 currently. They've won one game, but base runs says they should be 4-2. So how does that happen? What does that mean? So what that means is, I'm going to take one step in between here and do Pythagorean theory real quick. So Pythagorean theory is also another way to judge performance of baseball. And Bill James did a great job with that stuff. And one of the things that he did was he created a formula for runs scored, runs against, and the variance, the difference there. And based on that variance, you should have won X number of games, or should have lost X number of games, just by how many runs you scored and how many runs you gave up. And the Astros are 3-3 in that column. But base runs takes it one step farther, Jeff. And base runs is about sequencing. And I think that was a great term I heard, and I'm going to use it and describe it this way. So let's take 7 events that happen in a baseball game in one inning. And we'll describe it this way. One team comes up, and these 7 things happen. The first guy up hits a home run. The next 3 guys come up and they all get walks. And then the next 3 guys come up and they all strike out. That's 7 things, 1 run scored. But the other team has 7 things happen, and they're the exact same 7 things. But they have it in a different sequence. They get 3 walks, a home run, and then 3 strikeouts. Those same exact 7 things happened, but they scored 4 runs. So sequencing of events creates being lucky or unlucky. And that's what base runs captures. And that's why I like it so much, because it gives you the true value of how teams are doing, whether they're getting lucky or not. So in this particular case, base run says, hey, they've been unlucky. They should be 3 games better than where they are based on the events of things that are happening where they're at. They should be 4-2. So when I go and make Webby odds and create numbers, those numbers are influenced by those games. So I have adjustments in there for that so that they get credit for still being a strong team, even though they've been unlucky. So I think the Astros, there's nothing wrong with the Astros. I just think they've been unlucky to this point. I think when they played the Yankees bullpen did a great job. They didn't allow any runs against the Astros. I will say this. I think what's his name, Espada, I think is the new manager for Houston. I think he's not doing his team justice at the beginning. I think he's at a point where he needs to figure out how to manage, and he'll get there maybe. I mean, they got put into that spot for a reason. But you have to learn these things. I think like the manager for the Mets, I don't remember what his name is now, but the new manager for the Mets is having a problem too. But these guys have to get to a point where they go through day after day, lineup after lineup, make the right changes for the bullpen and do the right things. And I think that the usage and things will get better, and I think their teams will get better. I think that the Astros are not a problematic team. I think they're the best team in the AL West. I get it that Seattle can pitch, but man, if you watched them hit, they can't hit. So I think even though they can pitch and will stay in games most of the time, I don't think that they're going to be able to sustain enough offense to keep up with the Astros. And I think Texas will be a lot the other way, where they'll be able to hit, but I don't think they'll be able to pitch enough until maybe they get some of their guys back, or maybe go out and sign somebody else or do something, because starting pitching is a mess for that team.
And before I turn the slate over to you, I just want to talk out loud what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing on social media. And again, I use the word public, I use the word degens, spin, rinse, repeat, whatever you guys want to say. I know a lot of people are angle bettors. I know a lot of people are trend bettors. You and I are not like that. We're numbers guys. And so what is the hot talk right now on social media? Well, obviously you got to bet against the Rockies. Obviously, you got to bet against the A's. Obviously, you got to bet against this team, that team. You're paying taxes already on team totals on the Braves, on the Dodgers. So my point very simply is last night, again, we went 2-1. We got bit in the ass. We had Red Sox minus a hook, first 5. Take a 3-0 lead. No, 2-0 lead, then a 3-2 lead. And, 2 homers Bello gives up. Thanks for playing, but they go and win in 11 innings. So my point to you is some words of wisdom we got a lot of people watching here, standing room only. If you're new to this station, head on over to YouTube, East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe, it's free. Turn on the notifications, never miss a show. The Odds Couple here with me and Scott, and all the other shows that we do. Give some words of wisdom to some people out there that might be new to the baseball game.
Well, I've heard a lot of that stuff too. Like everybody's saying, if you want to bet the Braves now, because you're never going to bet them again because they're going to be so expensive. Same thing with the Dodgers. You want to bet against the Rockies, all that stuff. But here's what I'll tell you. Baseball is a 162 game season. It's 8 months long. These guys are human beings, and I don't mean that in a sense of other than to say that they're not robotic, meaning that over the course of a season, you expect a guy maybe to hit 30 home runs. You don't just take 162 games, divide them by 100 and by his 30 home runs and go, well, he's going to hit a home run every such and such at bats. That's just not the way it works. These guys are sore at times. They get up. They don't feel good at times. Other times they feel super good. Baseball is about streaks. So you want to bet on teams that are streaking positively. You also want to bet against teams that are streaking negatively. And that's going to be any of these teams, Jeff. That can be the worst teams in baseball. It can be the best teams in baseball. Remember this. Every single team in baseball is going to win 50 games. Every one of them. Every single team in baseball will lose 50 games as well. The standings all come from the 60 in between there. So you're going to have the Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're going to lose 3 or 4 in a row. It'll happen. It might not happen more than a couple times, but it's going to happen. And the same thing with the teams like the Rockies and the A's and some of these bad teams. They're going to win 3 or 4 in a row. Again, not maybe every month, but they're going to have a couple streaks like that. So as you're doing these things, it's real important to identify teams on those winning streaks, losing streaks, number one. Factor that into your handicap. And then number two, players do the same thing. Players get hot and they go cold, and they get hot and they get cold. So that's why I use, you've heard me use game score for years now. And game score is a determinant factor of how a pitcher performs in a game. And I use that in a lot of different ways. He's going to have a year-to-date number. As this year goes on, he makes 30 starts. It's just going to be an average number of all those 30 starts. But, he's going to have his last 7 days, his last 3 days, and his last start. So the idea is instead of going back and trying to analyze pitching performance to the degree in which, well, what was his FIP number or his earned run average or this or that over his last couple starts, none of that matters. Just use his game score number, because his game score number encapsulates all of that. But it also encapsulates how many hits he gave up, how many walks he gave up, how many strikeouts he had, if he gave up home runs. It encapsulates everything about the performance. So these guys aren't robotic, meaning that they're not going to be. So if he averages, say he's averaged 55, which is a decent pitcher. He's not going to go 55, 55, 55, 55, 55. He's going to go 60, 40, 52, 58, 55, 50, whatever. And then you're going to get a rough idea of, is he outperforming what he normally does? Is he underperforming what he normally does? Is today's performance going to be something more geared to an adjustment to the progression, meaning that he's going to do better than what he has been because he needs to get his average back up? That's just the law of averages, and the average to the mean. Or is he outperforming what he normally does and he's going to take a step back? So that's kind of where you come up with some of these things. The only caveat to the whole process of game score is these really good pitchers. The really good pitchers don't have a lot of really bad days. So even when they have a bad day, it's a good day for some of these guys. So you just got to remember that the Corbin Burnses of the world, even though they might have a bad day today, it's not going to mean that he's going to go out there and get shelled and give up 7 runs in 3 innings, whereas a guy like AJ Puck might. So that's kind of the caveat to all of those things is I've seen a lot here lately. One of my clients sent me an email the other night and is showing me statistical information on handicappers at like Wager Talk and handicappers at Sports Memo and stuff. And I'm not here to bash anybody, because that's not what I do. I'm not necessarily the greatest handicapper in the world either. But at the same time, what I want to make sure that you do is you understand what you're betting, because when you get plays from people and they go, hey, just go bet this game, you don't know why you're betting it. You don't know what they liked about it. You don't know what they're saying. And I got to be honest, it might be surprising, but all those big names you heard about, they don't win. Okay. They don't win. There's there's a difference in what Jeff does or what I do or what some of these guys maybe you never heard of do. And then what people pay us to do is that they either pay us to learn information, become a better themselves, follow some of the plays that we provide, but they pay us for specific things. We don't just give out plays. We try to teach you things, right? I try to teach you how to do EV plus betting. So I think that's a big thing these days. And Webby Odds helps with that. And now there's an EV plus tool that I think is even better that encapsulates what Webby Odds looks like and then turns it into, hey, these are where the odds are and how to make bets. But if you make positive expected value bets and that's all you make, you're going to win. It's just that simple. Over time, not necessarily yesterday or not necessarily today, but you're going to win. It's the way it works. You got to make 1,000 bets or 2,000 bets and you're going to win.
No, and I'm glad you added that. Over time, people think a lot of times we're scratch tickets, we're the big fix, and I say this every time, and to all the newbies here, please listen. If your eyes are attracted on social media to the guys that are on a hot streak, they're on a 12-1 streak, they're on a 23-3 streak. That's not the time to get on because it's numbers, it's mean. So if you hit 52%, you're going to break even at minus 110, 52.2 or whatever the exact number is. My point is, if you're looking for value, you're shopping for value. Like for myself, we read the market. So why would I spend 175 on a pitcher when, let's just say, I can get plus 105 or plus 110 if they can get to 5 or better on a team total? So if I spend 175 and they lose the game 6-5, well, I lost almost 2 full units, where if I had them to get to 5 or better, and they lose, say, 5-4, I'm only losing 1 unit. Where if they do get there, I'm getting plus 110. So the difference between minus 110 out of 100 bets, let's say 52 and 48 is the number, or 53 and 47, versus plus 110 or plus 115 when you're going to go 45 and 55 to break even. So there's a million ways to peel the onion. There's a million ways to skin the cat. My point is, your eyes need to be attracted to faces that they're not hiding behind a screen. They're not changing their name. We debuted here at East Coast Sports Investors January 1st, 2015. We're in our 9th full season. Scott's been with me a long time. Okay. This face and that face. If you go back to 2015 to where we are today, we're a lot less here. We're gray because we're still here. And so it's about the long term. It's about the value. It's about when you're sleeping, we're still crunching numbers. And that's what I do, and that's what Scott does. So enough of the sermons. Scotty, I'm going to put you up full page here. You can break down the card. You can give them your leans, what you're seeing. The stage is all yours, my friend.
All right. Well, I played 3 plays today, and we'll get into those. I think one of the best ways to do this, I stopped at kind of where my Chicago White Sox and Atlanta was earlier today. And then the next game on the board is Boston and Oakland today. And that is Pavetta and Stripling. And again, I think that this is one of those spots where, Boston is, I think, overvalued here. It's hard to bet and say, okay, yeah, I want to play on Oakland A's. I don't think there's enough value to play on Oakland A's, but that being said, my number was minus 150 for Boston, and I saw it at 165 was kind of the best number that I saw available there. So I don't think there's enough value here. I think Pavetta is a good pitcher. I think there's been a lot of talk too about how great Boston's pitching is. But you got to remember who they faced so far as opponents. They faced Seattle, and now they're facing Oakland, both teams that are not going to be the juggernauts of offense in Major League Baseball. So don't get too overly excited yet about Boston pitching, even though it's been really good to start. But, there's a reason why I think Boston is going to be right around a 500 team this year, and pitching is predominantly the reason. I think offensively they've shown that they've been able to be okay for now. So we'll see how it does when they actually match up to some of the opponents that are a little better than the talent they've had to face to this point. The next game was the New York Yankees and the Arizona Diamondbacks, and this one's an interesting game to me. My number is I have Yankees plus 108 and Arizona minus 108 in this game. I think Arizona is a team that's being overlooked, undervalued, but I also think this is a spot where the Yankees are probably going to capitalize. So this is a dilemma type game. So Carlos Rodon pitched for the Yankees, and he struggled with pitch count. His stuff was really good. So his pitcher plus metric number in that game was 101, which means it's just over average. But his stuff plus rating, which evaluates the movement of the ball, the horizontal movement, the vertical movement, the velocity, the release point, the spin rate, a lot of things like that, was 127. 127, by the way, is the best number of stuff plus on today's pitcher board. So he had the absolute best stuff. He just couldn't locate it against the Astros. So the question will be, is he going to be in that same predicament today, or is he not? And, his game score number was 48. So 51 is average. So it was below average. This is a much better than below average pitcher. So I'm going to expect him to pitch better than that today. And they're going to face Merrill Kelly. Now, Merrill Kelly is a guy that has to hit location, and his location grade was a 111. That's very high. So he hit his spots last time out, and his game score was a 75. He's not a 75 game score pitcher. So I'm expecting him to pitch poorly, or at least average today. So he's going to be in the 50s or lower, and I expect Rodon to be 50s or higher. So I expect that, meaning then that the Yankees are going to have a little better opportunity to put balls in play. So I say this a lot, balls in play. So they're not going to strike out. So balls in play then create opportunities to create base runners. The more base runners and opportunities you have, the more opportunities you have to score runs. Now it's vice versa the way that I would expect the Diamondbacks to be. I would expect the Diamondbacks to struggle with that a little bit, getting on base, have strikeouts, and have less opportunities. Now, does that mean they can't go out there and get a walk and then get a base hit and then hit a home run and it's 3-0? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means when you make bets, you have to make bets on the opportunity one team has to score runs, one team has the opportunity not to score runs. In this case, I like the Yankees a lot. Value-wise, I don't know that there's much value, but that doesn't mean that you still can't bet it. It's not a bad bet. It's just not a good bet. A good bet would be, say, Yankees at, say, I don't know, plus money. And if you can't get them at plus money, then it's not necessarily a great bet, but it's not an EV plus bet, put it that way. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that extra value plus type bet. That doesn't mean I won't bet this game. It just means that it's just not a standout bet. Now, the next game up is Cincinnati and Philadelphia. And for me to get into that game, the first thing I got to do is move over to my weather report. So Cincinnati in Philadelphia, this is they moved this game to late afternoon so they could play it. It's 4:00. It was originally scheduled to be a 1:00 game. It's going to be really cold, so the temperatures are in the 40s. The wind is 15 to 20 miles an hour blowing in from right field. And if you watched last night's game or heard about last night's game, Bryce Harper hit 3 home runs and drove in 6 RBIs and single-handedly basically beat the Reds. All home runs basically to right field. I think the first one was to left center, but 2 to right field. I have a very difficult time believing they're going to be able to hit the ball through a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind to right field for home runs. And I also think that the wind and the effect of the weather is going to make this more or less a low-scoring game. Now, the number is 7.5, and you got two really good pitchers. Frankie Montas was really good for the Reds first time out, and Wheeler is pitching for the Phillies. So the number was 7.5. I bet it this morning at 7.5 under at plus 100 even money. So I like cold weather games like this. I hate to tell you that I'm rooting for no offense and no scoring, but that's what I'm rooting for. I want these guys to hit the ball and their hands hurt, and I'm hoping that the pitchers, feel pretty comfortable today and can make it pretty tough on the batters. So I'm hoping that we get little run scores. So one of the major factors when the weather gets cold like this and it's in the 40s or below, the ball doesn't carry that well. So it's typically going to be harder for a team to hit doubles and home runs. So what does that mean? Well, that means to score runs, you need to have walks and you need to have a string of base hits. You need a single, a walk, and then maybe you can get there, or a walk and a single, and maybe you can score a run. And that takes several events of things to happen to produce runs. And that doesn't necessarily happen in a baseball game that often, especially when you have pitchers of this quality on the mound. So I like the under in that game, under 7.5. That's what I bet this morning. The next one on the board is San Diego and St. Louis, and this is an interesting matchup. I don't like the pitcher for St. Louis at all. It's Zach Thompson. Zach Thompson, I think his stuff plus rating was 59 last time out. That means it's the worst stuff that's on the board today in terms of stuff, which means he's the easiest to hit. And his location was bad, so he didn't last very long. And this is San Diego, who can capitalize on poor pitching. And I think that they're going to struggle against good pitching, but they're going to be able to capitalize against poor pitching. So I like that. And my problem with this is Musgrove. Something wrong with Joe Musgrove, or at least in my opinion, something wrong with Joe Musgrove. In theory, Joe Musgrove should be the best pitcher that the Padres have. He should be better than Yu Darvish. But he hasn't pitched that way. He had struggles in spring training, and they've carried over in his first two starts here. So I'm a little leery to support the Padres in this one, especially at the price, because I think the price for the Padres was minus 155, minus 160, something like that. My number is minus 160, so I think the odds are right. But at the same time, I say that if you don't get a good performance from Musgrove today, some of those St. Louis guys can start hitting. They're not hitting quite yet, but they can turn things around. Goldschmidt and Arenado and those guys, they can hit. They just haven't. So I'm more of the inclination to pass at this point, just because I think that the line is set right, and I think that yes, the Padres can capitalize, but you'd have to play them on the run line, and I don't really trust Musgrove enough to protect his end of the run line. If you got to play minus 1.5 and he can't keep the other team from scoring, then you're going to have to win 7-6 or something like that. So there you go. I don't like that game. The next one is Cleveland, Seattle. Was it such a disappointing night for me last night with this game? I was on Seattle yesterday against the Bieber's pitched pretty well so far. It's got 20 strikeouts, I think, in 2 games. Hasn't given up an earned run yet. But it wasn't big for the lack of trying. I mean, Seattle was 1 for 13 with bases, with guys and runners in scoring position last night. 1 for 13. You're not going to win games when you can't drive in runs. And that's the problem with Seattle. They don't have guys that do that. If their center fielder doesn't do well and he's not playing like a superstar and, hitting a couple home runs in a game, I think that team's going to struggle on offense. So today's matchup is Seattle's dominant on the mound. George Kirby, if you don't know who he is, George Kirby, I think I saw a number the other day. He's got like 55 strikeouts in 2 years, or 55 walks in 2 years. 2 years. And like almost 200 strikeouts a year. So the kid can pitch. He's really, really good. The Guardians under a new manager now, and I know Jeff really likes Francona, but I will tell you that they're hitting the ball. Their offense has been pretty good. Maybe the GM has done some things and made some changes and brought in some different talent, but this offense has been pretty good. They beat up Luis Castillo last night a little bit, and I like the Guardians so far on offense, which normally isn't the case. Normally, they're like the Marlins. They can't score runs, but they can pitch. And today they got Logan Allen on the mound. So Logan Allen's a hittable pitcher. He's a young kid, but he doesn't have dynamic stuff. A lot of times you hear about, these young kids, they come out and they throw 95 to 100 miles an hour and they got dynamic stuff. Well, this kid isn't that. He's a lefty that throws decent and has to learn how to pitch yet. And he's done pretty well, but he needs to get better. But it's a dominant, I think, pitching matchup advantage for the Mariners today. They don't hit the ball, so I don't want to support them, especially when you consider that it's minus 160 is the price you got to pay for that one too. So I'm going to stay off of that one. Pittsburgh and Washington, I did bet this game. There is some weather concerns here, but not dramatic. The weather concerns that I got on this game is that the temperature's in the 50s and the winds are blowing from left to right at 15 miles an hour. So not blowing in. But this is one of those matchups where last time out, Mitch Keller, the best Pirate pitcher, he didn't pitch pretty well, but his stuff was decent. So his stuff plus number was 104, which is above average. His location was bad. His location was 99, so it was below average. So he got hit, and they scored runs of him, the Reds. So now he's going to play the Nationals, and the Nationals are a team that I don't fear in terms of scoring and having a bunch of big offense. And the Pirates are a team that I don't really think is the greatest offense in the world, but they're surprisingly good. So I like the offense that the Pirates have put out there so far. And they're going to face Trevor Williams for the Nationals today, and he's not the best pitcher in the world in terms of dynamic stuff, and he gets hit all the time. So he's an old veteran guy that's been around a little bit now. He was a Met for a while. He's been in a couple teams, but I think that he's hittable. I think the Pirates have put the balls in play again. There's that term, and I think the Nationals have a little harder time putting balls in play. And I don't think the weather's going to be a huge ordeal here. So I think that you're going to get a good performance out of Keller today, or a better one. And I think that puts him in an advantage. My number on this game that I came in with on Pittsburgh was Pittsburgh minus 160. And you're going to get them. I paid minus 140. So I'm good with that edge. I like it. That's an EV positive bet. I want to make that bet every time. So I did. And that's where I went with that particular matchup. Detroit, Minnesota, that game's rained out. Our Detroit Mets game's rained out. Colorado, Chicago, I don't want to get involved there. You're minus 200 on a kid pitching for Chicago. His name's Little, I think was a relief pitcher. And they might be doing, the opener kind of, let's see if we can find somebody to pitch a few innings kind of thing. Colorado is throwing Cal Quantrill. Cal Quantrill is very hittable. However, has shown when he was with the Guardians a lot of ability to get some outs and hang in games. It doesn't matter. I don't think anybody wants to play in Chicago today. If they don't want to play, I don't want to bet them. So I'm just passing on that one. The next one, though, is an interesting one. We were talking about Houston earlier. And today you have Toronto in Houston. Toronto stole one in the later innings against Hader in Houston last night. But this one I think is overpriced for Houston. Houston is minus 140. My number is Houston minus 129. I think Bassett is a bulldog kind of pitcher. He doesn't have great stuff either, but he graded well last time out, better than I thought he would, even though he pitched poor. And Christian Javier is pitching for Houston. He's got a change in his pitch mix. He's throwing a lot more changeup now this year, so maybe that's going to affect things. But he had a dynamic start. I think his game score was a 70 No, it was a 69, so almost 70. Just awesome number. You can't expect him to pitch that well, so I expect him to pitch worse than that. So he's going to be in the 50s or below. And the game score that Bassett threw was a 39, so I expect it to be higher. So I expect him to pitch better, which then tends for me to believe that the Toronto Blue Jays, who haven't hit real well, have a good opportunity to hit today. And the other part that I liked is the ex-WOBA number, weighted on base average, predicted weighted on base average for the lineup today against Christian Vasquez is above normal, above average, where Toronto then should have a good opportunity based on their hitters and how many times they faced Javier in the past to be successful. So if you take the idea that Christian Vasquez is going to pitch a little worse, the Toronto Blue Jays have had reasonable success and predicted success against them today, and Bassett's going to pitch a little better than he did last time out. I think that values a underdog play on Toronto today, so I took them at plus 130 was the number I got on, but I think it was 125. I think there was something weird going on there. So I got 125 on Toronto. And then the last game is the Dodgers and San Francisco. And I'm not interested in this one. This is minus 215. The Dodgers beat up. They didn't beat up, but they worked the best pitcher that the Giants have in Webb. Webb struggles against the Dodgers anyway. And the Dodgers did an opener and threw Yarbrough yesterday. So they threw their worst pitcher that they could throw out there. And they still won. Today you got the young kid. His name's Harrison. The pitches for the Giants. I thought he was supposed to be really good and dynamic, but his numbers, his results last week, not so much. His stuff plus number was 81, and his location was 91, so well below average. And if you do that against the Dodgers, they're going to hit. So one interesting thing that I saw, I don't remember. I think it was VSiN yesterday. I saw some stuff. They were talking about the lineup construction for the Dodgers and Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman as being maybe the top three to ever play the game. And I think there's got to be some focus here a little bit. I don't disagree that they're not good hitters. That's not what I'm saying. And I don't disagree that they're not the best hitters maybe in baseball today as a top three. But I will say this. Mookie Betts is having a great start. I think he's got 5 home runs already. And Freddie Freeman is Freddie Freeman, meaning that he's just a stellar. He's batting about 300. He's going to hit 40-plus doubles and 30 home runs every year. That's what he does. He's going to hit 100. Those two guys are Hall of Fame guys. Shohei Ohtani's a Hall of Fame player, but not because he's the best hitter in baseball. Shohei Ohtani strikes out a lot. Shohei Ohtani is not a clutch hitter either. If you want to talk about those three guys, and you might be a little offended by me saying such, but Shohei Ohtani is the weakness of all those three hitters. Shohei Ohtani's strength is that he can be one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball. The guy that goes out there and throws 98, 99 miles an hour, good control, good curveball, good slider. He can get you out at that level and then come in and be one of the better hitters in baseball. Not the best hitter in baseball. He's not. So my opinion of what, that lineup looks like is it's super good. And when they get the catcher hitting Smith, and then they can get Muncy going, and they got 5 guys that'll wear you out. So I like the Dodgers construction. That's not what I'm saying, but to tell me that they are the best 3 hitters in baseball, I don't think that's ever. I don't think that's a legitimate. I don't think that's a legitimate statement to make. Anyway, I made those 3 bets, and I probably will be playing a little bit on. I'll probably play the Yankees today.
What was the Glasnow score in his first outing?
Glasnow was he was a 57 and then a 68, so he hadn't had a dud yet. So
yeah, that's my point.
Typically, it takes 3 starts And typically you have one well above average, one kind of average, and one well below average. He hasn't had that well below average start yet. So and this will be his third start. So it's possible it's today. And he was a Ray, so I know how he pitches. He's so John Smoltz makes a great statement, Jeff, about starting pitchers. They make 30 starts. They're going to have 10 starts all season long where they feel the best and they feel the great, and whatever they do is awesome. They're going to have 10 starts where they just can't find it. They don't got anything. Their pitches are going to be bad. It's the other 10 in the middle where they don't have it, but they find a way to make it work. And, that's kind of where you run into this. 1 out of 3 starts turns into bad. And I'm not saying that he's going to be bad today, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was just average today or below average today at all.
Christian Javier, not Christian Vasquez. Vasquez is your catcher.
Did I say Vasquez? I mean Christian Javier.
I knew exactly what you're talking about there. And yes, Atlanta, Chicago was postponed. I think I just saw they'll make it up tomorrow at 4:00 if possible. Currently now, Angels 4-0. What the puck is going on in Miami and the Marlins, and Milwaukee 1-0 top of the 3 as they get one as the horse has left the paddock. LOL. That was just a little pun on words there. As always, great breakdown. No set schedule with me and Scotty as we progress here. We're trying to find some spots, some holes. I'm trying to do some juggling act here. I know he'll be back at least once, either this week, this weekend there. But as we always end up here, Mr. Webb, any closing thoughts to our standing room only visit today?
Yeah, I think that one of the best things I can ever tell anybody about sports gambling and about baseball betting is just understand what you're doing. When you walk up to the window, it is your money. You're putting that money in somebody else's hands. You better know why you're doing that. And when you get to a point where somebody says, "Hey, you know what? You should play the play on the Astros today because they haven't won all these games at home and they're due." Okay, well, there is a due factor in some of this stuff. We talk about that, right? Regression and progression to the mean all the time. They're not going to lose every game at home. But I will say this: it's not your job to determine when that is. It's your job to make good bets. And if you make a bet based on that information and that information only, then that's not a good bet to make. You shouldn't be making those kinds of wagers. Have fun though. Make your bets so that you can enjoy the games, because if you don't have fun, you're not enjoying the game, then why in the hell are you making bets in the first place? I think it's great. I think it's fun. Obviously you want to win and you want to do all these different things, and you try to put all these bumpers in place so that you don't have to mortgage your house and all that stuff. But at the same time, the reality is, man, it's fun to watch these games when you got a little bit of piece of action on them, and every out matters and every pitch matters, and you're sitting there sweating tonight whether this guy's going to get a walk, and all of a sudden you're yelling and screaming at the TV for this guy to get an out or make a base hit. Man, and when you celebrate, it's just you can't beat it.
No, and the word that always sticks out when you talk about that is conviction. If you're going to go to the window and place a wager, please do it with conviction. I talk pizza and beer money. Let's just say unit size is $100. For some, their unit size is $20. For some, it's $250, $300, $500, whatever it is. The fact of the matter is this is at $20 a day to most people, that you're lucky if that gets you a lunch nowadays. And if you're using Uber Lyfts or Uber Eats or whatever that word is, you're not going to get much for that. My point is, there's 7 days in a week, people. And if you just put together a shits and giggles for fun, $20, 5, 10, 15, 20-legged parlay, the odds of you hitting it is slim to none. But my point is 20 times 7 is 140. And you times that times 4, because there's 4 weeks in most months, okay, you're at 560 a month. Now you times that times 12, okay, you're well over $6,000 Okay, you're closer to 6,500 for the year. And I know it's all fun. It's all fun and games. The wife's so out of town. A bunch of games on TV. I want to play this prop, that prop, every prop. My point is just be careful. Yeah, you're gonna. The sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. Okay, and I'm not trying to be that guy. My point is the tens and the 20s, they add up. Okay, that's why we talk about trying to get as many opportunities. I call it window shopping. Scotty calls it window shopping. If you got 3 or 4 outs, meaning 3 or 4 places that you can place a wager, why pay minus 128 when you can scroll down a little further and get it minus 117? That 11 cents on $100 play is $11. Now you add up $11 times 7 days in a week. That's $77. Okay, and if you won half of those plays, okay, you're close to $40 that you netted versus losing. So it's just small stuff like that that myself and Scotty try to bring on a daily basis. We like to educate with a little entertainment. We save the entertainment for the 4-letter word that starts with an E, that goes with an S and a P and an N, or Fox, or whatever else you want to call it. So great show as always. Again, if you're not subscribed, head on over to YouTube. East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. Turn on the notifications. If you're not following Scott, shame on you. Go to Webby20MLB. Go check out all his work for pennies on the dollar, less than $1 per game, meaning 162 game season, $150 for the full season. Set it and forget it. Get all this great work, his Webby odds, et cetera. 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Brady Kannon. Tea Time Wagers. We'll be breaking down the Valero Texas Open, 1 week away from the Masters. So good stuff coming here. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. Wish everyone a blessed day. If you're wagering on baseball, keep an eye on the weatherman, as Mother Nature remains undefeated. See you soon.